Hey guys, in today's video I'll be doing Season 6 Chapter 1 of the Infinite Labyrinth. As per usual, timestamps will be below in the description and I'll be showing each build for the stages in the chapter as each stage changes quite a bit. But before we get started, if you haven't seen my previous video on Tower Pass giveaway, I've given out the 3 of the 5 Tower Passes, so go check it out to see if you won the giveaway. And with that out the way, let's go check out the builds for Chapter 1. So for Stage 1 here, we're going to be using Rockstar with the max amp buff set, Plantain with the full wind set, and you want to have the Rain of Forks crit rate up to max just to make the ending a little bit more consistent, but you ideally want to aim for high crit damage with this build. Rye can just chuck on anything. I use the Dark Karobi set. Marla will be running this, Alchemist will be running this, making sure you use the Wizard artifact. Cherry will be running this. Candy will be running this. You can also use the Wizard artifact instead of this artifact, however I don't have a second one, but you do want to make sure you use your most powerful set on Candy since she'll be the one that does the most damage. Lemon-Zest will be running this and Durian will be running this. So let's get started. As per usual, my guides aren't aimed towards free-to-play players, however you're more than welcome to adapt and change it however you feel like to accompany your best cookies. But to start off with, we want to make sure we use Plantain's ult before we start the wave on the bottom left square where my cursor is now. This just makes it a lot easier to kill the final enemies and it makes it more consistent as well. Once that's out of the way, we're going to come to the middle and use Rockstar ult. The more precise you time this, the quicker you can be. Once this wave is dead, you're going to use Plantain just diagonally right to kill 3 of the enemies. You don't need to be too precise with this, but this next bit I find it a lot easier to dash with Plantain and then swap to Rye before we get to here, and then just use his ultimate on this corner where I'm standing right here. You want to be as close as you can to this corner because it hits this guy and this guy very precisely with the ult. It's quite hard to hit if you do miss it, but with some time you can get it. And again, this guy should die with a couple crits from Rye. If you need to swap your your wind set from Plantain to Rye to make this more consistent, you can. Just be mindful that these 2 enemies will be very slow to kill otherwise. But you should aim for about a 7-second clear here, assuming both of these die to Plantain ult. Stage 2 here isn't that difficult. To begin, we're going to use Alchemist's skill and then ultimate because of the Wizard artifact. Then we're going to use Cherry's ultimate. You want to aim for about right there because any higher or lower may make it harder to kill the left or the middle mobs down here. Then we're going to start the wave. You can do a charge up attack like I'm doing, but it's not completely necessary. Then we're going to use Cherry's skill, and after we use Cherry's skill, you want to be quick enough so this guy on the right side doesn't hook you in and lose a lot of time. So we're going to swap to Marla and use her ult almost immediately, like this. And then once the next wave spawns, depending on how strong your Marla, this may die a lot quicker than what mine is right now. It's just this next wave here, I was a little bit slow with my Marla, but you ideally want to already be positioned here so you can skill immediately to kill these 2 with Marla's skill. And assuming that the Alchemist ult is still applied, it should kill this bottom guy here instantly as well. So if you're fast enough, your Marla should be able to skill here, and then the Alchemist should be able to kill this bit here. But yeah, as I said, I did miss these 2 because I was just too slow, but in a perfect world, these guys would be spawning in and your Marla would have already killed them, and then this guy here would be dead. This third stage I've struggled with trying to find good strats for, but to begin I cast Candy's ultimate before the wave starts, then I like to wait a second just for the enemies to spawn in. Once the enemies spawn in, I'm going to use a charge attack on the right guy over here, and this is why you wanted to run the Earth set on Candy so you can one-shot this guy here. In this case he didn't get one-shot because she didn't crit, but my Candy should just be able to finish off anyway. Once these guys have died though, we're going to be using Durian's ultimate in the middle. Again, you want to be really fast with this so you can kill them faster. And then you're going to use Lemon-Zest's ultimate to kill everyone at the top like that. For stage 2, this is the team I'll be using, and here are the builds. Plantain's going to be running this, Soda's going to be running this, Rockstar's going to be running max amp buff, Alchemist is going to be running this. However, if you have another Wizard artifact, I'd heavily suggest putting it over this artifact. Cherry's going to be running this, Marla's going to be running this, but you can change the artifact to be the Warrior's Oath. Warrior's Oath I've also used in the past and I've had some success with it. Lemon-Zest will be running this, Durian will be running the Earth set, and the Wizard will be running this. You can put the light set on Wizard and the sugar set on Lemon-Zest. I have found that to work a little bit as well. I just find it more consistent and faster to run the light set on Lemon-Zest. This stage here isn't that difficult, but to start off with, we're going to use Plantain's ultimate and then Rockstar's ultimate before we start the stage. Then we're going to start the stage and swap to Soda and use her ultimate to kill these enemies that spawn on the right over here. Once these enemies are dead, we're going to dash to the top left and use her skill to kill everyone like that. Now this bit does get a little bit tricky. You do want to use a Plantain skill to kill the top left and top right guy in one go. Then use Soda's skill to kill the bottom left and bottom right guy. And if you're too slow, it can be quite hard to pull off. So my Plantain here hasn't killed this cactus guy, so it is a little bit slower. But you do want to just use Soda's skill to finish these other guys off, and you do ideally want to do it in the Rockstar ultimate for the quicker kill. This stage here is a very simple one. If you have the wizard artifact, you just want to use the skill before you use the ult, but because I'm not using it, I don't need to worry about that. We're going to start the wave off and use Alchemist's ult before we start the wave, and then Cherry's ultimate. Then we're going to use Marla's skill to kill these guys, and then Marla's ultimate to kill the first wave, and then Marla's skill to kill the second wave. Once these guys are dead though, we're going to use Cherry's skill to finish off everyone in this bit, and there's not really much else you can do here other than have stronger cookies than mine. This stage here is quite easy with the strats I've developed, but just to start off with, we're going to use a wizard skill and then ultimate. You want to cast that ultimate once these enemies are about this line over here, just so that it causes them to be damaged by his skill. Then we're going to use a charge up attack from Lemon Zest and then his skill to kill the top group of enemies there. Once these guys have all died though, usually my Lemon Zest can kill these two enemies over here, but in this case he didn't crit, but normally I'd reset until these guys die. We're just going to use a Durian skill, but in a perfect run you wouldn't need to do that. Instead you just ult at the end like this, and then use a Durian skill to kill the last group of enemies. For stage 3, this is the team I'll be running, and the builds will pretty much be the same except for stage 2 and stage 3. The Plantain's going to be running this, Soda's going to be running this, Rockstar's going to be running this, DC's going to be running the Dark set or Korolby set. You ideally just want to have whichever one has the most crit. If your Korolby set has more crit, you just run that. If your DC has more crit, or it's like your Dark set has more crit, you run that. Korolby runs my Dark set. Alchemist wants to run another Dark set if you have it, or the Ghost set. I'm just going to be using the Ghost set for this example with this new artifact as well. You do need 2 of them, so I do suggest holding at least 1 of them. Lemon Zest is going to be running this, Durian's going to be running this, and Candy's going to be running this. This first stage here is probably the hardest out of all 3 because of the strats you have to do, but for a quick breakdown, we're ideally going to kill the first wave with Soda ultimate and then dash to the left. You want to finish dashing about here just to make the aggro a little bit easier, then swap back to Plantain and dash to the right just to make the enemies aggro and fall off into the pit. But to show what that looks like, we're going to start with Rockstar ult. You want to make sure you have the attack percent increase like I do. Start the wave, and you want to be positioned where I am with Soda to make it a little bit easier to dash. We're going to wait for all the enemies to come in. Once all the enemies are in, if they don't die, I'd heavily suggest just resetting the run, but in this case I'm not going to be too worried about that. See how we dash to the left though? We've grabbed the attention of these 2 enemies here, so we're going to quickly swap to Plantain and dash to the right to force these enemies off the map. And if they don't fall off the map, you may just want to reset, or if you can kill them with Plantain's skill like that, that's also perfectly fine. But once these guys are dead though, we're going to be using Plantain's ultimate, and if you're quicker than what I was, you can drag these 2 in, but it is quite hard, and ideally you'd still have the Rockstar artifact ultimate up, so you can just use a Soda skill to kill them off in one shot. This second stage here is quite hard if you have a low crit build on DC, because it does take a while if you don't have a high crit build. But to start off with, we're going to use the Alchemist ultimate after we start the wave. Then we're going to swap to Korolby, use her skill, and then use the ultimate to kill the first wave. Then we're going to swap to DC and use his skill to kill the second wave. You ideally want to make sure you kill these 3 minions just to spawn the third wave as fast as possible. Then we're going to come as far to the left as possible just to drag this guy in. And if you're fast, you can use DC ult like this with the Alchemist artifact still proc, so you can get the most amount of damage. And if you're quicker than what I was, these guys will still be in the middle to crit, and this guy will still be in the middle to crit, and ideally with a perfect crit you can just one-shot everyone. This third stage here, I'm going to be using Candy before we start the wave. Coming up to the top left and using Lemon Zest's skill on one of the enemies. You only need to kill one of the enemies here for the second wave to spawn. Once the second wave spawns, we're going to use Durian's ultimate, and you want to make sure you hit all of them as possible, just for the easiest kill. Once these guys have died though, you're going to just use a basic attack just to start the next wave. Then we're going to swap to Lemon Zest and use his ultimate. You do want to make sure you kill the motorbike guys. If you don't kill them, you can just use Durian's basic attacks to kill them off, since they will already be weak enough. Then we're going to swap back to Durian and use a basic attacks and skills to finish the rest of these guys off. If your Durian is stronger than mine, you should easily be able to kill these guys. And again, if your Lemon Zest is stronger than mine, your ultimate should be able to kill this guy, but my ultimate didn't crit. And yeah, this would be about a 20-second clear if you do it perfectly. And that will be the complete guide for Season 6, Chapter 1 of the Infinite Labyrinth. As I said at the start of the video, make sure to go check out my previous video on the giveaway, as I still haven't had 2 of the winners claim their prizes yet. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.